Hi, you're listening to Meeple, uniting players from around the world. I'm PJ, and with me, as always, is Gareth. And today we're going to talk about Let's Have a Party. We're going to talk about
Party.
three of our favorite games, party games or social games at a higher player count. Gareth, how are you, sir?
I am wonderful. Let's have a party. I mean, I actually have a lot of choice. I think you've sort of struggled with this one, but I've just picked three that have been recent favourites in our sort of more social gaming group. So I'm looking forward to hearing what three you've chosen and seeing whether we have any matches or comparisons.
Yeah, this one was very challenging for me because as gregarious and social as I am, and I love to be around people, party games don't really I don't play them very often. I prefer more intimate gaming settings, and so this one was a real challenge. And I think with that, I think I should let you start since you have a
Ooh,
plethora of
yeah,
party
I'm first.
games.
This is changing the rules. So I have picked Bang the Dice game as my
Okay.
first choice, only because actually it's become a bit of a hit at work. So I've got a gaming group at work, mostly one of my teams I manage, and they're pretty good at these sort of games. And I had them all down, and now I've got nine, and this is an 8-player game max. So I taught it and stood out for the first couple of games. But Bang a Dice game is a remake of, I think the original game was a card game called Bang. You're all outlaws. You get given an outlaw card as a character with some special skills, and then there is a mixture of a sheriff, which is always visible. It's like a social deduction kind of game. There are deputies, there are outlaws, and there are renegades. And so you're given a secret card identity, as well as your kind of your cowboy or your outlaw card. And then your job as a sheriff is to survive and not to let anyone kill you. The job of the deputies is to make sure the sheriff doesn't get killed. The job of the outlaws is to kill the sheriff. And the job of the renegade is everyone dies and you're the last person standing. So you've all kind of got your own little objectives. Obviously, you can, if you're on the outlaw side, you don't make it too obvious you're an outlaw. Same way, if you're the deputy, you don't make it too obvious you're a deputy, because if people know you're the deputy, they're going to shoot you, so you can stop helping the sheriff. So on your turn, you'll roll 5 dice. A bit like Yahtzee, you'll freeze or lock dice, and you can roll up to 3 until you get your final 5 dice. Everything from a dynamite, which is instant freeze, you can't re-roll those. If you get 3 of them, you blow up and lose a life. You've got shot rounds, so there's 1 or 2, and that allows you to shoot either the player to your left or the second player to your left or to the right. You've got Gatling guns, which you get 3 of those, you shoot everybody. And then you've got the arrows from the Indians. And if you roll an arrow, you take an arrow symbol, you take an arrow piece of damage. When all of I think there's 11 or 12 arrows, when all of those have been distributed, there's an attack and everyone loses a life. To the number of arrows you have. So you're trying to mitigate not having too many arrows. You're trying to not be too obvious that you are a deputy, for example. So you might heal the sheriff, and so you get ale to heal people. So really, it's a really fast game. We played about 5 rounds in about 25 minutes, half an hour. Everyone loved it. Each of the unique characters have got a kind of special skill that maybe I can do 2 shots, or I can heal two times for a beer. And plays up to 8 players, and I'd say you probably want 6, 7 at its best. A little bit of downtime, maybe 8, but it is very fast. And that is my first selection. Have you played it?
I have not, and all I can think about is chaos, right?
Yeah, because you don't quite know. Like, the only thing you do know is the sheriff, and then the sheriff is like kind of because the sheriff can heal people, and you can also heal yourself. So you definitely as an outlaw, you kind of need to not make it so obvious so that the deputies aren't ganging up on you.
The
Um,
This game sounds like a hybrid between One Night Ultimate Werewolf and like Zombie Dice, right?
yeah. You've got roles. You don't want people to find
Yeah.
out. It scales really well. So like 5 players, you've got 1 sheriff, 1 deputy. I think it's 2 outlaws and a renegade. And 8 players, you've got 1
Okay.
sheriff, 2 deputies, 3 outlaws, 2 renegades. That adds up roughly like that. But yeah, highly
And
recommended.
And it works out in a professional work setting at the end of the day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we went. I took him out for dinner, and then we went to the pub.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
played it in a pub, and none of them have played this sort of game before. They're all pretty good at werewolf and
Okay,
kind of like the Codenames kind of things. But they
right,
loved it
right.
so much that this morning on my team meeting they said, "Can I bring it to the office again?" In fact, one of them has found an online implementation of it, which we haven't tried yet.
Oh,
So at some point in a
okay.
team meeting, we'll try that and see whether that's any good. So there is an online
That
free version.
that is awesome. And
Yeah.
again, I find it. I don't know why this surprises me at this point. I mean, there's a reason why you and I have collaborated to bring people this podcast. But my first choice is similar in terms of story. I brought this to a work conference a few weeks ago as one of my duties for, the social chair,
Hmm.
overseeing social activities. And we're talking about 100 attendees, right? All professional archivists from across the United States and
Wow.
Canada. And one of the things I brought was Codenames.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, Codenames is pretty well known. We all know you've got the 5x5 grid of cards that have a single word on it. You break into two teams, and each one has a spy master, as it were. And there's a little grid so that the blue team knows, and the red, blue and red teams. And you're trying to give a single word clue to your team and a number of words that are on the table that connect to that clue to guide them to find your words, and the other team is doing the same. Um, I made the mistake of make the first team were too big.
Ah,
I got ambitious. I
how
think it was
many?
maybe
Too big.
was there 12 of us? I think it
Wow.
was
Okay.
two teams of six.
Okay, that's okay.
Um, that was a little excessive because then it becomes a lot of table talk and they're not paying attention and
Yeah, yeah.
various things are happening, and so that was a mistake. But we played it every single night. Eight. It was typically 8 people, so there were two teams of four each night, except for the first night where I went a little too crazy. But everyone seemed to enjoy it, and there were different levels. What I love about this, and I'm rethinking party gaming, is it really triggers that academic niche in my mind,
Mm.
is to observe the human condition, because the way people interact with one another. The first night, it was nothing but laughter and jokes, and there were running jokes all week long when they would run into each other at the conference and they would reference that first night's game. But then you'd have some nights where they're competitive and they're very serious and they're very analytical, and then you get the so it was very entertaining. But that's Codenames, and I know everyone loves it, and I really enjoyed it. I saw there's a double XL version where the cards are even
Oh,
larger.
that's good for a team event. Yeah, really good.
I really wish I would have gotten it. I know there was an XL version, but I saw at Gen Con an XXL,
I
and I
haven't seen that. No,
wish I know, and I
should have
wish I
got
would have
it.
picked up a copy. I should have, because that would make it so much easier, because people could stand around the table and see the cards, because the cards are kind of small.
Mm.
And I know there's like a million reskins of code names, right?
Yeah, we've got
Pictures
the
and
duet
yeah.
version to like two
We
players. It
had
works pretty
we
well.
had it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
We
that's
had
another.
that, but
Oh, well,
Katie didn't like it, so we sold it.
it went.
It went. We sold it. Yep. And I even had the wooden insert for it too, to
Wow.
to keep everything organized, and it sold for what we were asking for at Gen Con at the consignment sale. It sold, so we're happy about that at least. So Codenames is my first party game choice. Um, yeah. So how about you? What's your second one?
So
'Cause I know you got a lot.
I've gone for Scrawl, which I think you might be talking about something similar. So we see I've never played the one you're going to talk about, but
Okay.
so Scrawl is a party game where every player's got a card to start with, players 1 to 6, numbers on the back, and then you're given a single card with 4 different statements on it. It might be licking a foot, or it might be spying through a door. Um, it could be biting a back. I'm making these ones up, but you're given that phrase, and then you, with your dry wipe pen and this first numbered card, you draw your interpretation on the card. You then pass that to the person to your left, who takes a blank card, a dry wipe, and they write what they think is the phrase that you have written, and then that gets passed to the player on their left, who puts their next blank dry wipe card on top, and they draw that picture. So you end up with a stack of cards that was the original drawing that I drew. I've passed it to you, and you've written down what you think it is. You've covered up your answer, and then the next person draws a picture until it's gone round. And I'd definitely say play this with 8 players until you come to the end, and then you line them all up in a row, and you tell them what the answer is, and then you work through the chaos that has happened, just like Chinese Whispers, where within about 2 or 3 pictures, it's completely gone off piece and it's nothing like the original. And you score points based on if you got it right. You give points out if you thought it was the best drawing or the best written interpretation, and you play it for everyone gets 1 go each. So it goes round. If you've got 5 players, there's 5 times it goes round. Really quick, lots of laughter. There's an adult version, I believe, with a few more innuendo words inside it.
Yes.
And that is Scrawl.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, yeah. So the game I was going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about it now. It's called Telestrations.
Is it the same?
It is really similar.
Yeah, I've never played Telestrations, but I hear people talk about it. Yeah.
What it is you have a dry erase like notepad.
Yeah.
And you rather than have a card with a phrase, you write a phrase and then pass it to someone else.
And so you have to create your own phrase.
Yeah, and then you flip it over and they draw a picture.
It's the same game.
Picture, it really is.
But so you've got a preset. There's a whole stack of cards that are pre-written, which I guess is easier because you haven't got to think about it. I'd hate to think about a phrase.
So I guess that's for North America, that's Telestrations, and for the UK, that's Scrawl.
You can get Telestrations in the UK. Yeah. But I think,
can you?
Yeah. I've not played
slight
it.
Variant.
So what are you going to do?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up. I had one in my back pocket just in case. That's Sushi Go.
Ooh, good choice.
I love it. It's a fun little drafting game. The artwork is amazing. It's from Game Right, so it's very accessible. Fun with the kids. Fun for people of all ages. I think it plays up to 6. If you buy a second copy, then you could increase the player count, of course. But, you go around and you draft cards and you pick one and you try to score points, right? So you have sashimi, and if you can later on get a nigiri sushi, that'll multiply the score of that sushi, or dumplings, have the most dumplings at the end of the round. And you do that for 3 rounds, and you just take a card and draft. And yeah, so that's a fun little game. Really cute, adorable artwork. I'm a sucker for cute artwork, as it were.
Have you played
Sushi? I have not played Sushi Go Party.
Yeah, it's just got more cards. That's the version we have here.
Okay.
I think we may have had the original, then we sold it for Party. But Sushi Go,
we've had the original for so long, and it's really popular in our group.
Yeah, it's another game that's been played at work. Easy to teach.
Yep.
Plays fast. There's Sushi Go Roll, isn't there as well? There's like a dice version that we've played.
There is. Yeah.
But I think the original, the Party version is by far the best. It's just so quick to play.
Yeah, it's on, again, because I typically avoid party games. We've not gotten the party version, but I think we might rethink that, especially with my responsibilities at our work conference.
That is it. Have you got those responsibilities because you are the gaming guy?
I have these responsibilities because I'm gregarious. And so the interesting thing about my profession, and, we're archivists, typically it attracts a lot of introverts who need to be canoodled out in a social. And I'm not. I'm an extrovert all the way, and I'm happy. Right? You didn't know that, did you?
No, never got that idea.
And so they were like, we're gonna, PJ, you should be our social share. I'm like, okay, great. So I have games, and let's do this. So
social champion.
Yeah, yeah. So that's me. So I think Sushi Go is a good one. I might get the party version just so that I can do that in future conferences because the artwork is cute. The other thing too is in a professional setting, as you know, there's certain lines you don't want to cross, and some board games, while they're not inappropriate, they just might be inappropriate in a professional work setting.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
Werewolf. Like Werewolf, we've played it so many times that I don't trust any of my colleagues anymore.
right,
They
right,
all lie to me
right,
all the time. Yeah.
exactly. And do you necessarily want to play a game that encourages players to lie when at a work conference? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that's kind of why we skipped that one. So yeah, I switched up the game, and we're going to go with Sushi Go Party. We'll say all the Sushi Goes is a great party game to play. Totally accessible, totally fun. Yeah, so that's going to be my number two.
Okay, my final one is a new game. I've only played this recently. Now, about sometime this year, I posted on Instagram. Somebody made like a checklist of all the I don't know the core games that people should have played or might have played, and it went a bit viral. So you basically you ticked all the games, and I ticked like 95%, and about 5 games I was like I never heard of,
Oh, I
or
do. I
do
remember
you
this list.
remember
Yeah.
I'd all ticked everything, and it was really good. Everyone was really loving about which games people hadn't played and which games they wanted to play. There's a game on there called Six Nimmt, which I think is how you pronounce it, Nimmt,
Yep.
which is I'd never even heard of it. And then I spoke to a few people, and they went, "Yeah, that game's a classic." Like 1994, I discovered was when it was first released. I think it might have been up for some awards. It might even won like Spiel des Jahres or Kenneth. I don't know what it might have won. But it's a card game for 2 to 10 players. We've played it at 6 and 8. I haven't played it at 10 yet. It When I first started playing, it reminded me a bit like the Mind. So you've got a card deck up to cards 104. You deal 10 cards to every player. I'm trying to remember this now. You then put 4 cards face up on the table, and everything else is put aside. And then on your go, you're trying to have the least amount of points, and every card you've got left in your hand at the end has got very, very variable points, like sometimes 1 point, or sometimes they've got 4. And then when the first player runs out of cards, everyone scores points in their hands. I think that works. I might be getting this wrong. Anyway, you get points after every round, and on your turn, you've got to play a card, either against one of those 4 starting cards. So let's say there's a 1, a 12, a 25, and a 53, and you've got 64. You have to put it next to the 64 because in theory that's the next card sequentially in order. If you've got a number lower than that, you have to put it near the next the card that's nearest to it. So if I've got a 20 and there's a 19 and a 10, I have to put it next to the 19 because that's the closest gap to it.
Right,
Um,
right. Okay.
and then when there's a maximum of 5 cards along every single row. So when it gets to 5, and you've got 1 left, you can choose if you want to pick up a stack. So if you can't play it, if the card physically won't play, or it will be the 6th card, you can pick up all those cards, and that becomes what's in your hand. That's how it works. So you play a card, and either it gets played down, or you end up picking up because you can't play, or it's running out of space. So it plays really fast. When I first taught it, a bit like my bad explanation now, so go online and watch a video. People are like, what? And then after the second and third rounds, they were going, this is rubbish. Like, just like this, there's no point to this. But then they realized how much, there's quite a lot of strategy to when you play a card, what card you're going to put down, because you don't know a bit like the Mind, you don't really know what else has got in their hand. And then by the third round, everybody was loving it, and we played 2 more games. So it's kind of just got to get your head around how those mechanics work. Explained far better than I would say. But I've only played it 3 times. I was thoroughly impressed. I've actually rented that from a board game rental over in the UK because I thought it was a great way of testing a game that I've not played, and I was very, very impressed. So 6 Nimmt is a 2 to 10 player card game, very light in terms of its rule set, but because it's 10 player, there aren't many games out there that play 10 and play that quick.
No, you're
There's
absolutely
no
right. Yeah.
downtime. You're like bam, 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 and you're all I don't want these cards because you have no other choice and your neighbour's screwed you over. So that is my third option.
So is it cooperative like the Mind?
No, it
Or
is. No, you are
okay.
all against each other, I guess you're trying to leave space for what cards you've got left in your hands, but also knowing that based on what you've got in your hand, maybe what others have got, that there's a high chance that if you put this down, everybody else is going to have to pick up cards. So you're kind of forcing people to pick up
Oh,
cards.
right.
Um,
Okay.
so that's
Okay.
kind of the strategy. But somebody else on Board Game Geek who's got an instructional video will explain that far better than I did in about 3 minutes.
I think you did fairly well.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
mean,
sure.
that sounds interesting. I'm ready to
Yeah, give
I'm
it a
ready to
go.
play it.
Like
Yeah.
that's like $10. I mean, it's
Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah, it's worth having. What
That
is
is
your final
fantastic.
choice, my friend?
So my final choice, you've heard me talk about 2 weeks ago at the Gen Con recap episode. I mentioned it again very, very briefly last week. And that was the Gen Con pick of the year for 2022. And that's the game Kites.
I need to
Time
see this game.
Time to Fly. Okay, so
Time
if
to
you're
fly.
curious,
Yes, tell us more.
go to floodgate.games/kites. There's videos, reviews, and more, as it says on the box. I'm cheating now because I have the box in front of me because it's beautiful. So it is by Floodgate Games. I think it was just released. It's by Kevin Hamano and Beth Sobel. This game is really, really cool, and the rules are so simple. I'm going to teach you right now.
Go.
You are going to play a card from your hand, and you have 3 cards in your hand, and there will be colors and images on them. So it might be a red and blue, might be a yellow and black. You don't know. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to flip the matching sand timers over. There are 6 of them. There's a yellow, a blue, a purple, an orange, a red, and a rainbow hourglass timer, sand timer. And they're going to lay flat on their sides at the beginning of the game. You're going to flip the white one or the rainbow over immediately to initiate the beginning of the game. And then with the start player, you're going to play a card, and then you're going to flip the matching sand timers. And the key is don't let the sand timers run out. And you have to do that. You have to run out of all the cards. You have to exhaust every card in your hands and the deck.
Right.
So you play a card, flip a timer, and draw a card. And so it's very real time because the idea is that we're at a park and we have our kites flying. We don't want them to touch the ground. Well, that's represented by the sand timers.
Got you.
There are 12 challenge cards, which we have not used yet, that kind of make it a little bit more difficult. We've played it at 2 players and 4 and 6. 6 gets chaotic. I think we won barely with 6 players. With 2 players, we won rather easily. It's because there's less dexterity, right? Like I'm on this side of the table and you're on that side of the table, so we can easily access them without knocking over sand timers, and that does happen, by the way. But it's really unique. It's a unique mechanic. It's a very real-time game, very similar to the Mind. It's cooperative. We all win or we all lose. And it's these beautiful sand timers that the sand flows at different speeds. So you remember Pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Where the sand timers move to different speeds. This is the same way, right? So the purple one I think moves the fastest. I may have that wrong. It's the slowest. Who knows? But we know that you have this information in advance, so you know which ones move fast and slow. So you can try to, well, if you know the purple's not, it still has plenty of sand in it. I'm not going to play that card. I will play this orange one because it's nearly run out and we're going to flip it over. But what if my neighbor, all he has is orange cards? Oh my goodness. The other interesting thing is there's the white or the rainbow sand timer. If you have a card that has a single color, you can play that card to flip over the rainbow
got you.
sand timer, right? Because there is no rainbow card. So you can either use the red kite card to flip over the red or flip over the rainbow. Once all cards have been drawn, so now we have 3 cards in our hands each, but there are no more cards to draw. We still have to play. We have to exhaust all of our cards. And when that happens, you can no longer flip over the rainbow. So you've got to hurry. So now the timer accelerates. We have to hurry up and get all the cards out of our hands before that timer runs out.
And is there a lot of shouting and screaming? Is there lots of that kind of do this and do that? Any danger
There's a
of
little bit.
alpha players or?
No. There is a little bit of, oh my God, look at the red, because you're not paying attention, because you can't see everything, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the red and blue one, but you're looking at the purple and the white, and so you're like, guys, watch out for purple. Okay, so it's more like yelling cooperatively. I don't know if such a thing is possible. Definitely not any table captaining, but there's certainly some yelling, like someone hurry up and play an orange. We've got to flip that over. But nothing nothing to that extreme. But it's a lot of fun, a lot of shouting, a lot of laughter, it's a good tension.
It looks really good. The artwork looks lovely.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
Best Oval artwork. It's on pre-order in the UK currently. So
okay.
I look forward to that. I think I've added to my wish list of things to check out. So yes,
there you have it, folks. Kites. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. Like I said, it was the pick of the year for Gen Con 2022. I think it surprised everyone. I don't, because we didn't know it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Floodgate was promoting Sagrada Artisans
at
Gen Con. So I think everyone was really focused on that. And Kites just came and slapped everybody in the face and said, check me out. And everyone did.
It does look beautiful.
Walking the halls of Gen Con, we saw a lot of people playing this. I mean, you couldn't walk past a room or a table where you didn't see Kites playing. It's that popular, and it's fun, and it accommodates up to 6, so that's good.
That is good.
So, yep.
Add it to my list. Okay.
So my final question to you is, how did I do, knowing that I'm not a big party gamer?
I think they're good choices.
Did I pass?
Yeah, I think Kites being a new game, Codenames being a classic, and you're sneaky that I had to change your mind because I brought Scrawl in. I think Sushi Go is a good choice as well. I mean, I think you've got all 6 games there. Deal with the kind of smaller group, and like Codenames you could play up to 20. I mean, you've got a huge amount of variability if you get the right.
You really
groups.
could.
Yeah.
You really could. The one thing you and I didn't talk about is what defines a party game. Because I think you and I, when we were planning this episode, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Because theoretically, there's a lot of roll and writes that can accommodate up to 100.
Yeah, that's true.
But does that make it a party game? I don't know that it does.
It needs to be really accessible. Like, if I can teach it to a non-gamer, then like family and friends, not regular gamers, then to me that's a party game. Whereas a roll and write, which you can play with like 10, it's like we went to a birthday party last year with Board Game Review UK, Nick, and they played Railroad Inc., a giant one with like 25 of us. But and that's quite hard to teach. So imagine teaching that to a huge group who've never played maybe games before. That's probably a step too far.
That would be challenging. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is challenging. Yeah. So I think all these games don't require a huge teach. I'd say the probably most complicated might be Sushi Go.
Yeah, you might be right. So I think the definition of a party game is one that accommodates a 6 or more player count. It has a social aspect, and it's accessible and easy to teach.
That's a good way of describing it.
That's a very succinct definition. I like that. That is a great way to end this, too,
right? It is
right?
another half-hour show. We've got this 30 minutes down to a T. So we're back again next week with another episode. Yet to be revealed. But I think that's the end of the trilogy. We've done solo, we've done 2 players, and we've done party games.
Yep. Oh, and listeners, please, if you have other party games, and we know there's a lot of them, send us a message.
Yeah.
Either
drop it in the comments.
Instagram, drop it in the comments, and let us know, because we'd love to hear. We'd love to talk about other games too that we haven't thought about. But and we've got some surprises coming. So we have about 50 episodes, at least titles outlined and planned. So we're going to throw some surprises.
And we're looking for some special guests, aren't we? On some of these topics.
We are.
So
we are.
We'll be putting a teaser out about some potential topics that we would love to have some other co-hosts on the show with us. So
absolutely.
If you're keen, just drop either of us a message on Instagram, and we'll see what we can do with you.
Yep, we'd
Cool.
love to have you.
Right then, thank you, PJ, for another awesome show. Thanks everyone for
Gareth,
listening.
it's always a pleasure. I love talking to you, man.
Okay, cool.
Thanks again for everybody listening. We appreciate it.